Get out. Get out. Get out.
Both
of you, get out. Get out. Get out. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. All right? Do you understand?
Yes.
Go away, please.
Yes, ma'am.
Allow us our privacy. Go away.
Don't touch the camera.
Then go away.
Okay, I'm gonna drop it just a little bit, okay? Tom, here on the hook. You wanna give him a hand, Rich? Guys, you want to go right here? Or actually, okay, sorry, yeah. Alright, perfect. And drop the IV, please. Unscrew that and drop the IV. Just a little bit. Alright, need somebody back. Hey, ready? Rich, can you make sure they get backed up about just so they can get out of here?
Jeff Lannon, Jefflannon. I'm a battalion chief for CAL FIRE.
Okay, what happened here this afternoon?
What we had was we had a 42-year-old man who was working on a well on a pump, and unfortunately the support system that he was working on broke. It's made of wood. He fell 35 feet down into a very tight, confined space of a well, and we had a very difficult rescue.
Tell me about the rescue, what you guys did to get him out.
What we did was we called a number of different agencies. We had CAL FIRE, we had San Diego Rural, we had some people from San Miguel, we had Lakeside, and we had a USAR team that specializes in confined space rescues from Chula Vista that came out, and they did a wonderful job. Everybody really came together, and what we had to do was the well itself, the surrounding foundation was very unstable, so we had to set up our own, basically a lifting system. We call it a tripod, and we had mechanical advantage and pulleys and an awful lot of equipment because we have to completely set up our own foundation and anchor system, and we were able to send 2 people down to safely package him because we have to worry about spinal injuries, that kind of stuff, and then retrieve the patient, bring him back up.
And we heard on the scanner earlier that he was unconscious, but I did hear he was moaning when he came up. So tell us, when you guys got to him, what was his state?
He was, I guess I'd say he's semi-conscious, and he had purposeful movement. We flew him by helicopter to one of the trauma centers. I'm not sure exactly which one, and I have not got an update on the patient status since we sent him.
Going back to questions, when you said you had the whole tripod system set up, I guess educate me. Is it computerized mechanics that help bring him up, or is it a bunch of guys, boots on the ground, lifting and heaving and hoeing and pulling them all out?
Well, there's no computer to it. It's mostly mechanical advantage systems, but it also takes an awful lot of staffing, as you probably saw. We had a lot of different units and a lot of staffing to be able to bring them up.
I noticed that you use a delay system, and what do you use, 3-to-1, 4-to-1 mechanical advantage?
Yeah, 3-to-1, and we also use a hot hoist as well. And remember, everything we do, we also have backup systems.
Yeah.
And the other thing that you have to keep in mind, you can't just send 2 personnel down in there. You have to first provide for their safety as well. And so you've got 3 people down that hole, and you have backup systems on them as well as the primary lifting, and that's why you saw all the equipment.
Do you know how high the water was in that well down below?
The water was a bit of a problem for us. They say it was raising about 18 inches an hour, and obviously the patient was stuck in a very confined space and not able to stand. So therefore we had to put a submersible pump down into the well and pump out the water.
Any idea how long he was down there for?
Yeah, he was down there for about 2 hours.
2 hours. There was a pretty, sorry Chris, I was gonna say there's a pretty big gash on his head.
Yeah, he definitely had significant injuries, and like I said, we flew him by helicopter to a trauma center, and I have not got an update on him. So,
can you tell us how he was situated inside the well? I mean, was he on? Is it on a flat surface down the bottom? Or?
It's well, I think it's a very uneven surface down at the bottom, and he was laying on his side. He did not have the capacity to stand.
His wife said that they had actually been working on that well for about 6 weeks because they've been having problems with it, and so these 2x4s, if that's what they were, 2x4s on top of the well. I mean, tell us about how they could have been compromised with all the rain we've had in the past few days.
That could be. I really don't know any of the condition of the boards. When they broke, they fell down into the bottom of the well, and so I really don't have any idea of what the condition of the boards were in.
Okay.
Was he unconscious at any time?
Yes.
I'm not familiar with wells. I don't know if you are, but is it water flowing, or is it
It's water coming up from underneath the ground. You pump, or you drill down into the ground until you get to basically what they call the water table. And so you've got water that will come up through the ground and fill that space, and then it's pumped up from there through a pumping system.
How often do you have to do these types of rescues?
Well, actually, you don't see this too often. Be honest with you, I think I've been on one, and that was a very long time ago, and I think that's the only other one I've been on. So that's one of the challenges that we had is you don't get a chance to really practice on this kind of stuff. And so that's why I was incredibly impressed by the crews today. They did a great job. The crew that we had from Chula Vista on the USAR, they do practice this quite a bit. And a lot of us are certified in what we call confined space operations. In fact, we have to be to actually work on this before we send a team in to a confined space.
And you talk about the challenge. You know, you've got the time challenge because the water's coming up, but then you have to deal with the safety issues of going into the well and pulling them up. Can you talk about how you had to balance that? Go ahead and look at the one.
Yeah, exactly. That is a balance, actually. You've got so much time. Obviously, you can't leave that patient in there. He's hurt. He needs aid as much as possible. But as the worst thing you can do is just dive right in and put people down in there in an unsafe condition. You'll do what we call adding to the incident. You don't want to become part of the incident where you have to rescue your rescuers first before you actually get to the patient, and that is quite a balancing act. The other challenge of that, of course, is when you're out in a rural setting like this, you don't have an infinite number of resources to pull from. As in staffing, you don't have as much people on an engine company out here. and you also don't have the same equipment like they do on the USART team. So you just have to get everything set up as best you can. Communication is very key, and coordination. We do that through what we call the incident command system, and I think that worked very well today.
Can you just list the various agencies that were involved, the fire agencies and the rescue, sheriff?
Absolutely, yes. We did have the sheriffs out here. We had American Medical Response. We had Medic Air for the helicopters. We had CAL FIRE, San Diego Rural. We had San Miguel, which is also now CAL FIRE. We had Lakeside. We had Chula Vista. And I believe that's everybody that we...
And is there a special, I guess it's the confined space team or something like that?
That special confined space team came from Chula Vista. They were what they call a USAR team, a specialized rescue team. And they train on this kind of stuff. But a lot of the other CAL FIRE personnel, San Miguel personnel, myself, I've also been trained in confined space rescues. It's one of our base trainings that we all do now.
First time for you today to ever have to do this?
No, I've done it once before, but not this technical and not this complicated.
Oh, yes.
And this was a very, very involved call.
What kind of injuries is the victim facing?
I didn't get a great assessment on that. He definitely had some head injuries, and I'm sure there's probably going to be some other stuff abdomen-wise and maybe limbs, but I really don't know that. You have to understand, in a situation like this, that patient is 35 feet down into that well, and we don't have the capacity of getting down there right away to assess the patient properly. So basically, you've got a bunch of things that you can do to get a brief assessment, but really they won't know that until they get him into the hospital. We just get the rescue, and once we get that patient, we get him packaged as well as possible, do the aid that we can do, and then we send them with the doctors and RNs with the helicopter.
Due to the confined rescue, what was the atmospheric situation, the atmosphere inside the well? Did you have issues with it?
That's a very good question, and that's one of the reasons you have to hold up on your rescue, because one of the main problems when you get in a situation like this is you may have air or oxygen levels below sustainable amounts for life, and so if you send personnel down in there, they can become further patients if they are not getting good air supply, and you can also have other off gases down there. You don't know what kind of an atmosphere you do. So the first thing that we did, the first on-scene crew did an excellent job of improvisation with a 1-inch hose they sent down there, and we have bottles of air that we put on our back when we go in a structure fire, and they were able to pump air through that hose line down to the patient. The other thing is we have a monitor, an oxygen monitor, and it also monitors other types of gases. And we were able to send that down, and we were able to monitor the oxygen and other gas content down there. And that turned out actually very well. When we got the monitor down there, it proved that our improvisation with the hose and the air hose down there, and then later the San Miguel unit had a bigger ventilator. We had very good readings.
Was there any communication with the victim at all, and if so, how was it?
The only communication we really could do was shouting down at him, and he was able to answer like some simple questions. But the problem is if you're down there 35 feet and you're in this tunnel, it's very, very hard to discern if that patient is giving you appropriate answers or not.
Okay, so 3 guys down a very dark and deep well with only 5 feet diameter. So it's pretty tight quarters while they're working. With
rising water, which is a problem as well, because that obviously lowers your space, and now you have to worry about that patient, airspace.
Any idea how high the water was when the guys were lower down?
Well, that pump actually worked out very well for us. We know that it got up close to the patient's head, and that's when we got the pump going, and that pump worked very well, and we were able to get the water out.
Do you have to worry about hypothermia with the patient as well?
Absolutely, particularly if there's bleeding or any, obviously 35 feet down and in a wet atmosphere, yeah, there's always a problem with hypothermia.
How was he located? Like, did his wife call it in, or how?
I'm sorry. How was it called in?
How did somebody know that he had fallen out?
Oh, what happened was he was working with, I believe it was another person, and when the boards broke, that other person was able to catch himself and not fall in, and so that person made it a instant notification.
Okay, great. Anything else you want to add that we didn't ask you?
No, I think you've asked all the right questions, and I think we've covered everything.
Great job today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.